All right. So we're gonna be building some stuff today. We're gonna be building some games with an app called Cursor. So if you guys were around yesterday for Carlos' stream, Carlos showed off v0.dev, which is an app created by Vercel, which is kind of like a hosting platform, all of this stuff. And he kind of showed you kind of like how to build a simple app, game in that. And so it was my first time actually seeing somebody create with V0 like that, and it was actually really cool. And I'm going to spend some more time plugging into that. Cursor is a little bit of a different animal. And we'll kind of go through it today. Platforms like V0 and Replit, there's a ton of others, like a ton that you can use out there. They're great. I haven't used them as much as Cursor, so I don't know how like centralized they are, right? They probably try to keep you on their platform, which is, makes it a lot easier. I know with Cursor, especially if you're planning to build something robust, I know you can do it with all these other guys, but it could be wrong here. But I think with Cursor, like it might be a bit more scalable, right? So for example, tomorrow's session with Rymar, a buddy of mine, he's going to be showing how to use Replit. And Replit is like they really try to keep you on their platform. They have a whole hosting thing, database, all that stuff, right? So it's very sticky. So with Cursor, it's a bit more kind of freeform. And so you can kind of, like it's potentially like better for scale. Probably a little bit, higher of a learning curve. So it might not be perfect for everybody, but we'll explore some of that today. So I'll be looking at the chat on occasion. You guys don't have to tip me Pengu, but thank you so much. Everybody that has, Scotty, Thor, Merhab, Swingman, thank you so much. So just a quick little rundown of what we're doing today. So we're going to be going over Cursor, like I said. Let me switch over to this one here. Switch over to this view. Yeah, so yesterday was Carlo. Today's me. And tomorrow is going to be Rymar, right? So Rymar is going to be a bit more kind of business focused, like SaaS and that kind of thing. With me, it's going to be like more kind of freeform, vibing, kind of game stuff. Thursday is going to be Friday with Scotty leading. And Scotty's going to be, probably diving into some advanced techniques, probably building something together with you guys. And then day 5 is the final day of this test flight builder sprint. If you don't know what these builder sprints are, they're basically, like we basically at Bearish, like essentially want to teach a lot of people how to vibe code properly. Okay, and there's going to be opportunities down the road that will allow you to actually make money from these sprints. We got 2 sponsored sprints already lined up and a few others that we're cooking up. So it'll be a good time. So Carlo, feel free to stop me anytime, ask me questions. I don't know if somebody says something cool in the chat. Awesome. So
can I throw in one thing?
Yep, please.
Yeah. So one of the things we're going to do or encourage for this week as well is that Abstract, underneath the video, there is a create a clip button. So if you find something interesting within this presentation today, this workshop today, create a clip, download it, share that clip on X, include your thoughts about it, and tag Bearish AF, Bearish_AF. If you share that link into the Bear post in the Discord, we'll give you 5 berry, but you'll also earn XP for clipping as well. So that's just a little tip to get some extra XP for tuning in today.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Thanks, Carlo. So what we're going to be doing today, so last night I was playing around a little bit and I created this little 3D bear game. Okay, don't ask what is going on with this bear. I tried to have it, recreate, my bear that you see on the bottom left of the screen. And it looks absolutely fabulous. So you got hunters walking around in the background, right? So they give you damage. As you progress in this game, so basically you collect honey, and then you have to build a den quickly before the hunters attack you, right? There's health up here, there's hunger, so you have to eat. as you move throughout the game, there's different areas you can explore. And there's even different types of enemies, right? So eventually you run into a shooter that you have to dodge their bullets, right? So it gets progressively harder. So yeah, there's a little mini map down here and all of this stuff. So this is what we're going to be building, but we're going to be building it from scratch, okay? And I actually want everybody to drop in an idea, right? We're going to create something together, an idea for a game. It could be a 3D game, could be a platform or whatever. And, and you'll kind of see like my personal process for how I, actually build games like this, or other experiences, right? So this isn't just games, it's also apps, right? You can solve business problems, et cetera, et cetera. So, so drop in any ideas you have in the chat. And so while that's kind of coming in there, I'm going to talk about Cursor a little bit, right? So this is Cursor. Can everybody see this okay? Is it like a decent size? Do I need to kind of zoom in a little bit? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, just let me know if you can hear me okay, and see everything all right. So Cursor is an app that you download on your computer. It's called an IDE, which stands for, I don't independent development environment or something, right? And so there are a few things you need to do inside of Cursor to really make it work properly, right? So first and foremost, really kind of the most important thing is in the settings, there's something called rules, right? And so these rules are basically you're instructing the AI for how to produce stuff, right? And so it's very useful if you're a beginner to add in rules like this. I'm going to make sure to share this in the builder chat in the resources section after this, right? So this is just basically just making it better, right? So that's really the main thing you need to know. Also, there's something called Yolo mode. Where is that? Yolo mode basically makes it so you let me just find this here. Yeah, so there's an agent in here, just like Carlos showed yesterday with v0.dev. It'll just do stuff for you. And YOLO mode just has it do all of that stuff without asking for your permission, right? So somewhere in these settings, you'll find it, right? So you just turn it on and it'll just cook for you, okay? Yeah, that's really, kind of all you need to know. We're not really going to be talking about deploying today. So one other big difference between Cursor and V0 and Replit is that it's a local environment, which means it happens on your computer, right? To actually publish it to the web, there's a couple of extra steps. So we can, if we have time, we can touch on that. But so that's basically most of what you need to know. I'm actually going to start something from scratch, just completely, just start brand new. We could take it from there. So we're going to go to new window. We're going to close this one. We're going to open a project. And I'm just going to create a new project inside of my coding thing. Bearish sprint project. Cool. Okay, open. So now you have a blank canvas here. Okay, I'm just going to open this up just a little bit. There you go. So now you have a blank canvas and you can do anything. All right. So at this point, you can go one of two ways, right? You can walk blindly, like as a metaphor, you can walk blindly into a dark room and just bump around the walls until you find the light switch. Okay. Or you can do a little bit of planning and you can maybe look for a map to look for that light switch. Right. And so personally, depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes I might just be burnt out and I just, like I can't think anymore and I need, an AI to just do things for me. And I'll just, just jump in and just ask it to do something. But if I have an idea, right, especially with vibe coding, I've had ideas, over the last couple of years that I'm now able to actually create. Sometimes it's like pretty well mapped out in my mind. And so the more instruction that you give, the closer it's going to be to what you visualize, right? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to hop over to Claude. Okay. So this is what I use for my ideating. Okay. And so now let's just do this. I'm going to copy everybody's messages since they started posting ideas, right? I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to say, I'm building a game with my community. We are vibe coding with Cursor, and I asked everybody to put together some ideas. I'm going to paste in some text, of what everybody suggested and come up with a simple but fun game that we can build together. Okay. And so this tool that I just used basically takes my voice, and I could just tell it stuff. I'm also going to direct it a little bit. So this is where planning comes in a bit, right? So there's a lot of different, if we're talking about gaming, there's a lot of different, game libraries you can use, right? There's, obviously Three.js is probably what we're going to be working with today, but you could also ask it to, actually give me different web game libraries we could do this with. Okay. Chat. Let's see if there's any other messages. Okay. Boom. Let me actually paste in other people's messages. This is like super freeform here, right? We're just going to see what happens. So I like to use a 3.7 sonnet with extended, which means it'll think a bit deeper, right? It'll kind of reason a little bit, and then publish. So we're just going to see what it comes up with. And then we're going to take this and, oh, damn, that's annoying. Unexpected constraints. Let me just go normal, see what happens. So there's going to be some stuff we're going to run into while building this. We're probably going to need to debug some stuff. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Unexpected capacity. That doesn't normally happen. Let's see if we can just go to 3.5 haiku. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got it. Yeah, so now it's giving us ideas for what libraries to use. Okay, so you've got something called Phaser, Three.js, Babylon, Pixie. I'd probably recommend that you do a little bit of research into these and kind of see what it creates, right? Like Three.js is obviously a 3D game, right? Maybe you want something 2D, right? So you'd use Pixie or Matter, et cetera, right? And so we're probably going to build something with Three.js just because it's fun and it's visual and it's 3D, which is great. And so based on the community suggestions, I see several fun game concepts. Let's combine all of them into one crazy game, but keep the mechanics relatively simple. All right. And we'll see what happens. I'm also going to ask, so with this, we're actually going to get started. We're going to get started with this. Okay. We're probably going to hop back over to Claude to ask a few other things, but this is great. Oh my God. Yolo mode. That's crazy. Okay. So this is what it gives. We're not going to read all of this. So a multiplayer survival game where players control unique bear characters in a dynamic, ever-changing world that blends multiple game genres. I'm going to say simplify this and make it single player. I don't want to be debugging, multiplayer stuff, right? The more complex it gets, the more issues, you'll probably get. So, okay. So while that's cooking, we're going to hop over to Cursor here in a little bit. So it's just updating the artifact here. And so again, it's important to do this kind of planning if you're going the planning mode, right? If you're just going the fuck it mode, let's just run. You can also just start in Cursor. Okay. So this is what it is. I'm just going to copy this. And typically I would like to plan a little bit more, right? Like I usually have some ideas of, I want these kind of mechanics. I want to look like this, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm going to do, we're just going to YOLO this, and I'm just going to paste this in. Create this game for me using Three.js. We're going to use this as a starter and later add on to it. Okay. Paste. I'm just going to look at the agent, and I'm actually going to select 3.7 Sonnet Max, which makes it, like it gets charged a little bit per use. But it's a lot smarter. It just maxed out on all of the context and everything. So with Cursor, it's $20 a month, and you basically have unlimited chats. right? There's a limit for like how many like premium chats or whatever, but it's like 500. I personally have never actually run into that. So yeah, it's $20 a month. I think there's a 14-day trial, cursor.com, and let's do it. So we're going to hit send. Let me see if there's anything else I want to do. Yeah, let's do one more thing. I have attached a picture of a bear, and I'm going to use just my personal bear because I have it here. I attached a picture of the bear. Make the in-game bear look like this. It's a green, we'll just say zombie bear with a honey pot on its head and a rainbow shirt. Okay, so this is the kind of detail that you can get into. And then one more thing, one little tip I like to do is first create an implementation plan in a .md, which is just kind of like a text file, and execute from there. All right, let's get this party started. So obviously you're going to see it, thinking quite a bit because there's a lot to build, but you'll see the files start to get created here. The actual file structure on the left-hand side. You'll see the actual code being generated here. So we're just going to let this cook. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so this is just going to cook for a little bit, and yeah. So I'm curious what everybody like.
So,
what everybody's.
Toli,
yeah. Go ahead.
Could you, if we shared the 3D FBX file of the bear that we have for Nifty Island, could you throw that in here?
Possibly. Possibly. I don't know if it works for web games or not. I don't know if it's like specific to Unity or something like that, but we can try.
I was just curious because we were talking to that other web game. That might be Unity based too. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it might be interesting. I not for this session, but just for testing for later.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and if we have time, we can drop it in and see if it'll actually play with it, because that, that's the other thing is, we want to provide people with assets, and stuff. Like we added our logo, like the berry images, the backgrounds, all that stuff you guys can play with, and that just kind of gives you, a good place to start with to make something that's pretty, right? If something's pretty, people will like it more, and it'll probably get more engagement, etc. Yeah, so that's a good idea, Carlo. Yeah, so this, as you can see, this created an implementation plan. This can also be considered a PRD, which means product requirements document, right? Just basically, this is what we're building in decent detail. All of like the more kind of coding details, all that stuff, that's up to the AI or to a developer, if you're like handing it off to a developer. But this gives itself, right? So this just created this structure and some phases for it to work with. All right. So what this is building for us is a 3D platformer game where players control a green zombie bear with a honey pot on its head and a rainbow shirt, navigating through various wilderness environments. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to basically set up the basic project here, create the bear character, the environment, physics, collisions, game mechanics. So there's a fishing mode. So somebody asked for a fishing mode, so that's going to be fun. A combat mode, a stealth mode, and a progression system for the game mechanics. There's going to be multiple levels, collectibles, obstacles, and challenges. And I'm not sure what exactly this character is going to be doing. Is there an enemy or something? So we can add some more stuff here. Okay. So while this is generating, while it's thinking here, I'm going to pop back over to Claude. And I'm going to say, let me just make this a little bit smaller here so we can see what's going on. I'm going to say, okay, we've got the game building now. Review this this implementation plan, and think about what makes a really good, addicting game. Think about the visual style, things like enemies, even damage like character damage indicators, right? Character turns red on damage or something. In general, consider making this a beautiful, pretty, and fun game. Okay. I'm just going to paste in the implementation plan and just see what it cooks up. Thank you guys for all the love. Thank you for the tips. Tips are unnecessary, but appreciate it. Okay. Oh yeah, there's some great ideas here. Okay. Cursor should have a YOLO mode. Don't have to approve terminal commands. Doesn't even open code editor. Yeah, so I am using the YOLO mode, so you can see that it's just creating stuff. If you don't have it on, all of these things here, it will actually, it will like ask you to approve it before it moves on, right? Okay. Now it's creating the controls. Let's see what Cursor is telling us. All right, so what it's saying, damage indicator, energy health, environment design, parallax backgrounds, weather effects, grass that sways, leaves that fall, small creatures moving in the background, gameplay addiction mechanics, that's funny, dopamine loop. Okay, cool. Yeah, these are a lot. We'll wait for this to actually be created. You know, hopefully this can like literally one shot produce something for us. When I was creating the bear game last night that I showed you earlier, it one shot just created it, which is good, you know, to get to that place. And I think that's one of the most important things is like for you to get to a place where you actually build something yourself, right? Like you've just created this thing and awesome, right? You show your friends or family, whatever, post it on Twitter, you know, show us inside the Bearish Discord, and you just feel good. And that's the motivation, right? That's the most scalable thing is if you can get yourself to the place of being intrinsically motivated to build, you'll be building forever. So looks like this might be wrapping up here soon. Let's hope and pray that everything works great, right? So you can see that this just now created a bunch of stuff. Java's, you know, just like all of these different files, you know, it reasoned by itself, right? There's no assets here yet. I don't know, maybe it'll ask us to upload some stuff, textures, sounds, models, whatever. Okay, so it just created a README file. Cool.
So there's a little bit of a chat message here. I set up Cursor. What was the first prompt you gave it? Just to know what it would build, what it would build it in browser, I guess.
Yeah, so before I actually put anything into Cursor, I actually went into Claude to help plan a little bit. And I went over here and I asked Claude to give me some different web game libraries to choose from, right? And so here, there's Phaser, 3JS, Babylon, Pixie, whatever. I don't know any of these. You know, I kind of know 3JS a little bit, but this is the one I chose. So I would actually recommend you I'd recommend you actually like do some research and see which one is best for you, right? Because, you know, like yours could be a top-down 2D game, right? You know, could be something else. So I hope that answered it. Okay, so it just created the game. Cool. So one thing I'm going to do is it's asking me to run the game, simply open index.html in a web browser. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, run the game for me. Okay, so it'll probably, I'll run a little command, npm run game or something like that, and it'll open up a browser, and we'll see what we have. And I hope to God it actually, you know, does it one shot. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, so it's going to set up a local web server to host it locally, and it's running the command. All right, so now it's telling us that it's on this local host, right? So we're going to pop over here and see what happens. Localhost 8000. Okay, so all right, so there was a bug. Okay, so this is good that we're going through this because Debugging is very important. Okay, so serving, we'll just see if this works. Okay, we got a game, guys. All right, there's a lot there's a lot happening. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, extend this out. Here we go. Restart game. All right,
You got attacked and died too soon.
Yeah, restart game. All right, so that button doesn't work. Okay, so the controls are really weird. So if I'm like moving forward, it's acting a little funny. I can jump and look at my bear. Look at him. Just this rainbow shirt is brilliant. I don't know what those little artifact things that are following me are, but they're scary. Yeah, so that's my health, right? So my health just went down.
Yeah, you got to watch out for those red blocks. They're going to attack you.
Yeah, I think those are supposed to be little creatures or something.
Yeah, they're supposed to kill you.
Yeah. Okay. So we got something. Okay, so now we got to fix some stuff. Okay, so I noticed the bear doesn't actually go up the mountain. Doesn't actually go up the mountain, first of all. The controls are a little strange. He like auto walks. I want it to be, a natural thing. I want to be able to turn the camera with my mouse. Oh God, fucking red blocks. All right, let's go back. Okay, game. Okay, so another tip here. Carlo touched on this yesterday, which is like generally you want to create new chats like every time you're asking for something. Okay, and so that keeps the AI from getting confused of all the prior context, right? So the context is all the information it has from you chatting with it, the entire code base, and everything it knows about, Three.js, et cetera, right? So we're going to do something else here. So game works great, or works, but we need to fix a few things. Camera and controls are fucky. I should be able to control the camera angle, and using WASD, it should be smoother to walk around. I don't know what that means, but we'll see if we can figure it out. Number 2, on mountain terrains, the bear does not go up and down. It goes under the mountain. Okay. Number 3, the enemies are little red blocks. Turn them into rabid squirrels. As you can tell, I can't spell. What else? Anything else that you noticed, Carlo? I mean, besides
maybe make the red blocks a little slower.
Slower, right? Okay, slower.
They're pretty fast.
Perfect. I'm also gonna yes, they're too fast as well. And then add some clouds and rainbows to the sky to make it pretty and visually pleasing. Okay. So one other thing you can do with Cursor, which is really interesting, you can actually connect documentation to this. So what that means is, let me just find that. They just recently updated this, and so everything's kind of disconnected, right? Okay, cool. So you can add docs, right? So you've got the Three.js docs, right? Which I'm sure it already has in its database thing, but you can add it very easily as well. So if you're building a Giphy app, add the Giphy doc here, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what you can do there. So I've already added Three.js. So what I can do is refer to the @Three.js docs to make this game more premium feeling, I guess. All right. So now we're going to hit send and see what happens. So usually you would want to be doing these things one by one, but I'm kind of I'm kind of like kind of going this route to see if we run into some bugs, because you're always going to be running into bugs, and you have to be able to learn how to debug this. Um, is the stream quality poor? Let's see here. I see it's acting a little funny. Are you still there, Carlo?
Yeah, I was checking out the chat.
Okay. Hopefully everything's okay. Let's see here.
I can see everything.
Okay, perfect. It's okay. The stream for me looks a little blurry, but
I mean, it's probably the size of it. If you have it in full screen, it's pretty good.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. So, okay, cool. All right. So it's going to fix the camera controls, make sure the bear is, properly using terrain, rabid squirrels, clouds, and rainbow. And later, I want to put in some of this stuff that we were talking about before, which is just some better mechanics, better visuals to give it a little bit more of that premium feel. Pick a few easy things to work on. And again, typically, I wouldn't be using like AI to think for me like this as much. Hold on one sec. Not the code, just plain language. I'll let Cursor figure out the code. Oh God, it's doing everything for me. Here we go. Boom. All right. So while that's working, I'm just going to read some comments here. Bear needs a weapon to defend squirrels. Yes, I agree. Yep. Yes, all you need is critical thinking and problem solving using AI. So, AI is never going to be coming up with ideas like this, right? You as the human are the pilot, guiding it. It's doing all of the heavy lifting with the, obviously the thinking, the problem solving, the skills, but like you're going to be guiding it. And at the state where AI coding is now, it's not perfect, right? I'm surprised we actually haven't, run into a serious blocking bug that makes the game not work. Obviously, the game isn't perfect, but hopefully we can run into something and see if we can fix it together. And then there's always a way that you can, revert back, right? So your top message, you can click on it and you can revert to that place. So it'll always, save your spot. And one thing I'm curious about is what you're doing in this game. The game features fishing, combat, and stealth mechanics. Don't really. Okay, okay, so you can go into fishing mode by pressing the button. Okay, so all right. So what we're gonna do. So what's going on here? This bug is it's telling us that port is already in use, right? So you see that it's trying to use port 8000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this one, and you can stop a terminal by pressing Control C. Okay. And we're going to just try to run this again. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to refresh this. Loading bear quest. All right, so now it's going up mountains, but he's moving by himself. I'm not doing anything. All right. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. He's going up mountains, and I actually can control the camera with my mouse. Oh, he's underwater now. That's good that he's going up. Oh, look at that rainbow. Look at that wonderful rainbow. Wow. This is like a dystopic world. This is terrifying. Okay, let's go. Let's try out some of these modes.
This is like your dreams. This is when you're playing a bear game in your dream.
Terrifying. All right, so the modes aren't working, but look at these rabid squirrels. See them? They're kind of terrifying. They're like little balls. Okay, all right. Let's see what happens if I get attacked by them. Oh, cool. So there's like a collision mechanic. So the bear actually jumps, or like gets pushed back, I guess, oh, fuck. There we go. Bye. So anyways, oh, wow, look at that. I'm in limbo now. That's kind of pretty though. Anyways, yeah, so we got some changes. Great. It's not, it's not a real game, obviously, but it's a little something. Look at my bear. He's got the eye patch. He's got the honey with like the honey pot, and he's got his rainbow shirt that actually moves. Look at that. Like the rainbow shirt.
Oh, look at his head moving. You've got the bearish inception going on right now.
That's amazing. All right. So, okay, so great. So we're gonna stop this terminal because it's probably gonna try to run it again. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna say the bear is moving automatically without me pressing buttons. Make sure the bear only, God, I can't type, only moves when I press WASD. Okay. Also, the different game modes aren't working. Fix that. Cool. All right. So I'm just going to hop into this README again. So collect honey pots for points. I didn't really see any honey pots. Find the river. Oh, okay. So I got to go to the river to enable fishing. Catch fish. Avoid or defeat enemies. And complete level objectives. Okay. So left side of screen, virtual joystick. Jump button is jump. Mode buttons. Okay, here we are. Jump, fishing mode, combat mode, stealth mode. Okay. So you can see that it's nice to be able to be very specific with AI as far as like the game mechanics go, or the app, whatever it is that you're building, because it'll make decisions for you, right? Even like that bear. I mean, like that bear. If I had just uploaded a picture of my bear and asked it to make the character look like this, it would fuck it up, right? And so I had to kind of specify that's a honey pot on the head. AI typically thinks that's a hat, right? So it's a honey pot with honey and a rainbow shirt. Great. So the more detail that you can get with what you're looking for, the better, right? Because otherwise the AI has to fill in the gaps, right? And so this is where a little bit of research goes a long way. Oh, look at me, I'm still floating in space. But a little bit of research goes a long way with AI. And you typically want to just create a little something, foundation, a platform for this, and iterate on top of that. Break things out into pieces. I'm not really giving you a good example for how to kind of do this because I'm just doing everything one shot, right? And it is actually very fun to do things one shot and just see what it builds, right? Just make a little something. As like AI coding progresses, there's gonna like it's just gonna get better and better, right? So this is the worst it's ever gonna be, right? So if you can start to learn now, right, how to properly communicate with Cursor or V0 or Replit, whatever, then in a couple of months, half a year, a year from now, like you're going to have a pretty serious skill set, right? So, one other thing you can do, which I used to do, was to actually tell Cursor that I'm a beginner. I'm an absolute noob. I know nothing about coding. Teach me along the way, right? So have it actually like teach me, a little bit better. So, all right, let's see what we got here. I'll be surprised if this actually works. Let me refresh. Okay. So controls are a little bit better. They're still a little bit weird, but I can jump, which is cool. Okay, let's find the river to see if... Actually, let's go into combat mode 2. What is combat mode? Does that mean I can like attack these squirrels now? Oh, yeah, there you go. I just ate them. Stealth mode. I don't know what that is, but let's go into stealth mode. So you can see these buttons at the top here. They're kind of switching back and forth. Normal mode, fishing mode, combat, stealth. Let's just go into fishing mode and see what happens. Or did it tell me I need to find the river or something? Yeah, let me find the river. Yes, these controls are a little weird. Let me see if I can get over to the river. Oh, the squirrel. Oh, Jesus. Okay, yeah, got me. So anyways, let me go into stealth mode. What does stealth mode do? Just see what happens with these squirrels. Stealth mode, they're still attacking me, so that's not really doing anything. Anyways, I'm probably not going to be iterating on this, anymore, Carlo, unless you had some ideas. Right? There's a lot that we can do. Right? You can see there's a lot of bugs and stuff. And again, I asked it for a fairly complex game with terrain and stuff like that. Maybe one thing I'll do is like copy these things: subtle environment animation, particle effects, and damage feedback system. Right? Just little details, and we'll see what happens. All right, so implement these changes as well.
Well, you're not going to be able to leave this session until you complete this game deployment. So
actually let people. Yeah, I mean, I think I can do that. Let me think.
No,
here.
I'm kidding.
Okay, yeah, no, that's terrible. I would never publish something like that. Let's see what people are saying. Toli had explained to me like I'm a 15-year-old with minimal computer experience and a detailed step-by-step guide. Don't say 10-year-old because it'll use to box analogy as referencing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, the message was pretty bad, Thor, but it's okay. I forgive you. But yes, it's a good idea for you to learn kind of how to build software, right? So take this opportunity to have it teach you just like little pieces here and there, right? So, yeah. Let me see here. What do we got? Yes, these recordings are going to be on YouTube. And there's also going to be a little Medium article that will fire up later today for this. It'll probably be closer to evening because I got to hop out after this. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, are you guys going to try to make some 3D games? Do you feel like this was like pretty easy to do? Again, I would like simplify it. I try to make it a little simpler for yourself. Because like the more complex you make it without detail, it'll just fill in the gaps, and it's not perfect still. As you can see with the the objects floating in space, and like me going under the mountain, and weird controls. Right, controls are one thing that I kind of like have issues with 3JS. So, Carla, have you tried to create like 3D games with V0 before?
I haven't. No, I actually try to stay away from 3D stuff because a lot of it, if you really want to make it good, you got to have the assets. I mean, there's certain things you can do. Like obviously, Cursor does a pretty good job of creating the environments and things like that. But if you want to have you want to take it to the next level, you need to have those assets made. Right. And there's hopefully certain things that we could do to provide some basic stuff. Mm-hmm. But eventually, you're gonna like this is more about the ideation. Really visualizing your idea. So if you are working with someone, it's really good to have an alpha version, right? A playable version that you can then share with your collaborators, and maybe you find an artist, or maybe you find an additional dev who can kind of help improve that code that you've kind of deployed or shared, right? To get you to a better place for your game. And also, Cursor's not just for games, like you mentioned earlier. It could be for a B2B app, or a SaaS product or something like that, or just like a simple, maybe you have something that you do in your day-to-day job that you need to help kind of automate a flow for. You can try to build something in Versal or in or in Cursor and try to make something, a tool for yourself, right? It could be tools as well, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a game. But I like what you've done today because it gives you a different way to go about it. For me, like I love having everything in a browser, so V0 is great for me. But if somebody wants to do something more locally, do a little bit more complex, ideation using a co-pilot like you have here, the Claude and the Cursor connection, I think is really nice.
Yeah, that's very well said. there's a lot of tools out there. Tomorrow we're going to be exploring one more called Replit, which is actually very, very popular. Um, it's got stuff like database automatically plugged in, right? So if I wanted to create a database for people that don't know is basically kind of memory storage, right? So for stuff like if you leave the game and come back, it should have your progress saved, right? So that's got to be stored in memory, and that's what a database is for. And so yeah, so Replit, platforms like V0, like they do that a little bit better than Cursor. Cursor, you kind of like have to, like, you don't have to, because it'll make decisions for you, but it's good to have an idea of like a little bit more technical what you want to do, right? So we kind of, initially, tried to figure out what, game library we're going to be using, right? So, yeah, let's see what's going on with this game.
Yeah, there's some chat messages here I'm gonna hit up. Yeah, I mean, you could do basic stuff in Cursor as well. Or more complex things. You can also build websites. Like if you just need to make a website, you could, create a website that way. You could also use V0 for that as well. See, cloud servers for data storage, depending on what data you're trying to store. AWS, Amazon Web Services, probably has some good options there. They do have some like free credits that you can get for signing up for a new account, which might be cost savings for folks. If you're doing like a simple database, so like if you had for your game, you had a leaderboard, and you just kind of want to store data from basically user sessions, essentially. There's a platform called Supabase. You can set up a free account for that too. That allows you to create essentially tables for data storage. Basically, think of it as like a spreadsheet for like game histories or leaderboard stats. And if you tell V0, for example, you're on V0 and you're like, I want to set up my game or app with integration with Supabase. It'll then do all the code that it needs to do. You can also say, I want it to store my leaderboard. I want to store game history. I want to store blah, 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 blah. It'll create all that for you. You might have to do a little bit of work on the Supabase side. And then you can tell it to say, hey, show me where I need to put my API key in the environmental variables. And it'll pop up a little box for you to actually paste it in there. So it's really helpful if you want to do something like that. But yeah, the free tier with AWS is great. Supabase is great. But yeah.
I think one of the like talking about pricing, I've played with Replit. I haven't played with V0, so I don't know how much development costs there. It could probably rack up, right? Maybe you could tell me like what's your bill look like? Is it like, do you ever pay for overage or
no? It's $20 a month.
Okay, cool. And like you never go like over that?
No.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
That's cool. All right. So what we're doing here is obviously we have a bug. It's not loading. This is good. I've been wanting to run into something. So this is the console. This is the terminal of like the game running itself. So you can see there's some errors here, right? File not found. Code 404 means file not found. So I'm asking it to look at this terminal, but I'm also pasting in console. So this is the actual web browser itself. If you right click, go to inspect console. This is what the web browser is spitting out, right? So I've just pasted this in here. So I'm going to say, I think in my cursor rules, there was something called a debug mode. Let's just look at that real quick. Debugging, right? When asked to enter debugger mode, it'll do some stuff, right? So enter debugger mode. All right, so what it's going to do is it'll reflect on 5 to 7 different possible sources of the problem, distill it down to 1 or 2 likely sources. Add some more logs. Logging is basically where it'll show you the error in more detail, so that it can actually figure out what it is, right? And so, so it's adding the logs now. It's, kind of guessed on the most likely sources of the issue, and it's going to fix it. So, so we'll see what happens from here. So this is like after you get to that place where like, okay, cool, I've got something, I've got a prototype, right? So we've got a prototype. There's always going to be bugs. Like there's always going to be something that you have to debug. And so like learning the skill, or at least like instructing AI to like how to debug properly, it's very important, right? It's also important for you to understand what is your end goal, when coding something. What are you trying to do? And basically try to get there, and then, and be done from there. Because it's not always just about like building a prototype. If you're just having fun experimenting, that's fine. But if you're trying to build something that's available for other people, then it's important to, to make sure that you like you have a stopping point, right? And like, where that is, because there's a lot of extra stuff that you don't think about, like deployment, hosting, etc. And again, one of the benefits of Replit and V0 is the fact that it'll take care of that step for you, which can be a pain in the ass sometimes. All right, let's see what's going on here. So this is trying to run again. So we're going to go like that. So what's it doing? So analyze the browser logs, right? So we're going to refresh this. Yeah, we're going to refresh, and we got some more logs here that we can possibly, so the game is actually running. It's actually running in the background. You just can't see because this thing is here. Because you'll see that, like you just saw here, that the squirrels were attacking us. And that was game over. So, yeah. So at this point, I would basically continue to do what I'm doing, right? Debug until I can get the game to a solid place. Yeah. What do you think, Carlo? Educational?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great introduction to Cursor, and and kind of just your insight into how you process and encode. I think everybody saw my process yesterday. You got to see your process today. We're going to see Raymar's tomorrow. We're going to see a little bit of some stuff from Scotty on Thursday. And then we'll kind of show what everybody's kind of worked on this past week, on Friday. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. To have a little showcase and give out some prizes, and we're definitely going to continue these kind of educational things, because I think it's very valuable for us to, for people to learn how to how to do this stuff, especially once we get to the to the real builder sprints. Like actually building stuff for other platforms, products, protocols, whatever. We want to be thinking about how to integrate drip with our stuff as well. Meaning, so inside the Bearish Discord, we got berries, and we could, and other currencies, and we could create more, right? And so if we get a good couple solid games from people, we could create a game-specific currency, right? That maybe the only place you can earn it or spend it is in specific games, right? And so, future workshop is definitely going to be showing you guys how to actually build for drip and actually build something that like can be, can create a currency, right? That can have a currency that lives outside of the game. I think that's really exciting for me is to, like a game is one thing. Yeah, it's fun. You're going to sit down and play, but if you have an economy that extends outside of the game, and it's available in places like Discord or in other games, you basically have like a nonstop game. People will always play the game because they're interacting with that economy in some fashion, right? So, yeah, so this will be fun. Hope you guys are excited. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for today. Anything else?
I just want to say one more time, just for people who are tuning in or have been watching, if you found something useful, go ahead and click that create a clip button underneath the title, underneath the stream. If you create a clip, you can download it, you can share it to X. You'll get XP for doing so. So if you're trying to get some additional abstract XP, make your clips when you're doing your when you're watching streams. It's a great way to do that. If you post it on X and share the link in the Discord in the bear post section, I'll tip everybody who does that 5 berries. So you'll get some berries and you get some XP. And also, yeah, like Toli mentioned earlier, we're gonna do more of these sessions in the future. Like one of the things that we were talking about earlier today was I had ideated on a game that I did in V0. I had shared that with the group. Scotty was like, I think we can probably take this to the next level and actually deploy it maybe, because the code was pretty clean when he was looking at it. Obviously it needs some additional dev eyes and Web3 integrations and things like that. I had the basics in there, but he was impressed with what I did. So what I did without him, he was impressed with. So we handed it off to a graphic designer. They did a UI update. And then we've handed it off to Rowan, to RPG and to Lil Bladed to actually do some additional work on it. But I was thinking, like, once we get to a beta test version of it where I can actually test it on stream, I can then walk people through on a stream the flow from how I started and created it to the handoff process, so you can kind of see the Figma stuff that was created to the actual playable beta version before we actually launch it. So things like that to kind of give you insight into the process, I think is going to be very helpful and useful, and be able to ask questions about that too. So stay tuned.
Love it. Yeah. And there's, to kind of build on what Carlos said, there are going to be some apps or games people build that will be taken to the next level, integrated into Bearish, and that kind of thing. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we can play with there. Not just in the Bearish Discord. There's going to be opportunities to do this stuff for other communities, right? So, yeah, excited. So, yeah, appreciate everybody for popping in. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., 2 or 2:30. Tomorrow is going to be a session with Rymar. So Rymar's actually built some pretty, actually very, very, impressive micro SaaS apps that just look really good and they work perfectly. Like he tells me about these weekends sometimes. He just kind of he disappears for 2 or 3 days and he just builds stuff. And it's pretty insane, right? So he's locked into this in a really interesting way. So you're going to learn a lot from him tomorrow. So and maybe Replit's your tool of choice. We'll see. So anyways, appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope you learned some stuff. I appreciate you accompanying me, Carlo. And this video and the Medium article will be posted later into the Discord. In the meantime, I'm excited to see what you guys build. Please share screenshots, post it on Twitter. We'll retweet that stuff. We'll drop it in, in our examples, et cetera, et cetera. So excited to see what you build. And peace for now.